Prior to the War of 1812, navigation between Lake Erie and the upper Great Lakes was forced to pass through a very narrow channel on the lower Detroit River. It was a junction where native peoples had been meeting for centuries, and a strategically ideal location that could be easily defended and controlled. And so it was here in 1796 that the British built Fort Malden, also known as Fort Amherstburg, and made the fort the headquarters for the British Indian Department. Earthworks, archaeological sites and barracks, along with models, maps and paintings in the museum, give an idea of what the fort looked like and how it's changed since the summer of 1812. There was a council house for meetings with the First Nations peoples, a commissary, and the provincial marine dockyards, where the upper Great Lake Fleet was constructed.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Oh yay! To His Majesty's Provincial Marine, on this July the 1st, in the year of our Lord, 1812. Note, this is a call to arms.
This is where the war broke out. This is where the first American invasion took place. This is where Isaac Brock was able to solidify his defense of the provinces. When he captured Detroit, he took out the American Army of the West. It would only have been after the Americans' victory on the Niagara Peninsula that they were able to gain anything back in this area. It wasn't just British, Canadian, and the United States. There was a variety of First Nations people, and Fort Malden played a major part in the development of that relationship.
It was here that General Brock first met with the great Shawnee warrior Tecumseh. Reenactment groups honor the 30 different nations who fought under the great chief and allied themselves with the British in the hope that someday they'd be given their own homeland. In May 1813, the Americans captured Fort George and the British lost the Niagara frontier. Fort Malden was isolated.
The naval squadron on the American side, which was built in Erie, and it was under the command of Oliver Hazard Perry. Perry basically wanted to find a way to secure and beat the British on Lake Erie to secure that region for the United States. The British squadron was under the command of Admiral Barclay.
Both the British and the Americans were anxious to gain control of Lake Erie. When the American squadron moved into Put-in Bay in the late summer of 1813, potentially cutting off the supply routes to the forts and their native allies, the British fleet was forced to leave Amherstburg and engage in battle.
They worked their way to windward all that previous night until the morning when they waded up to windward of the enemy, and the Americans came out to meet them from their Put-in Bay harbor. And at that point the wind changed, and suddenly the Americans had the wind advantage. The British concentrated all their fire on the American flagship and actually put it out of action. Perry, the Commodore on the American ship, left his ship, rowed over to a fresh ship and proceeded to turn the battle around and gave it back to the British, who were at that point so weakened they couldn't defend themselves. So it was really a turnaround victory.
Communication between Harrison and Perry was simply that Perry had wrote a note to him saying that we have met the enemy and they are ours. 2 ships, 2 brigs, 2 schooners, 2 sloops.
The jig was up for the British. They were on the end of a long supply line, and there was no way they could hold their position. Plus that the Americans followed up the victory with a very quick invasion. They put troops aboard all those ships that they had captured and brought them back up to this area.
The Americans could land anywhere they wanted along the north shore of Lake Erie and outflank this fort. So it was decided to destroy everything that could be of use to the Americans and began a slow retreat up the Detroit River to the Thames Valley.
For more information, visit our website on topoftheworld.net.